WNYC Studios is supported by Car Care To Go. We all know the hassle of getting an oil change or car repair. Car Care To Go saves you time and stress. They pick up your car, repair it, and bring it back to you all with the click of a button. Schedule now at carcaretogo.com and use code WELCOME25 for $25 off any service. That's carcaretogo.com and use code WELCOME25 for $25 off any service.
Listener supported. WNYC Studios.
This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart. The Grammy Awards are this Sunday, and today we kick off a series of interviews with some of the nominees, both performers and the engineers and producers who work behind the boards. Up first, a record that seems right for International Women's Day from Best Folk Album nominee, Laura Marling.
What became of Alexandra? Did she make it through? What kind of woman gets to love you? Wrote us all a little note, nothing left to lose. What kind of woman gets to love you?
That's the song Alexandra from Laura Marling's seventh album, Song for Our Daughter. The record earned Marling her second Grammy nomination for Best Folk Album. Her last solo album, 2017's Semper Femina, was nominated too. Song for Our Daughter has been scheduled to come out in the summer of 2020. Marling was one of the few musicians who decided to move her release date up rather than postpone it. Song for Our Daughter also earned Marling her fourth nomination for the Mercury Prize, the equivalent of the Album of the Year for British musicians. And according to Wikipedia, that ties her with PJ Harvey and the Arctic Monkeys. Only Radiohead has more nominations. Her first nomination came in 2008 for her debut album when she was just 18. Song for Our Daughter was named one of the best albums of the year by The Guardian, NME, Pace, Stereogum, and many, many more reviewers. Laura Marling joins me now. Laura, congratulations on all the success.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
So your previous solo album, which was also Grammy nominated, Pitchfork described it as a broad study of femininity to explore complex relationships between women. So how did Song for Our Daughter become the album that followed up that one?
Well, I was in my late 20s when I started writing it. I'm 31 now. And I think in your late 20s, well, as far as my experience went, you start considering yourself in a different feminine role, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I have this sort of strange ability to look back over my life, of course, in the records that I've made since I was 16. So I had a kind of maternal retrospective of the person I was then and the person that I am now. So it was somewhat narcissistic in that respect. But yeah.
Well, what did you learn?
I think you know that while I was thinking about that, there was also this huge paradigm shift happening in gender and feminism, mm-hmm. and I think. I was just thinking about how much that is to take on and understand as you're also living a life. You know, you're just trying to live your life somewhat transcending gender, not constantly thinking about your gender, obviously. And by necessity and for good reason, all of us have been considering it in a very different way, and it's become somewhat of a preoccupation. So I was trying to think about how you continue to carry on your life in all of its complexity and take on this reconsideration of femininity.
At the beginning of April, your album was one of the earliest to come out during the pandemic, and a lot of musicians decided to postpone releases, but you actually scooted yours up a bit. When and why did you decide to release the album when you did?
It was a sort of a panic, I guess, the unglamorous way of putting it. But 2 weeks into lockdown with no idea how long it would last. Obviously, it's lasted an incredible amount of time. And it seemed like I don't like to sit on albums. I've released 8 albums now. I'm not all under my own name, but I dislike very much to sit on an album for a long time because you get bored of the songs and the moment that you wrote them very quickly passes. So it seemed like it would be something that might bolster people's spirits a little bit. People who are already fans of mine, I guess, might enjoy it. And it got it out of the way, kind of, in a good way.
So in that sense of like, you don't have to wait and see what's going to happen. You just decided to release it out into the world.
Yeah, and it was quite simple. That is one of the benefits of the way that music releases have changed. I don't think that would have been possible, obviously, in a different time, which is kind of interesting and fun.
My guest is Laura Marling. We're talking about her album Song for Our Daughter, nominated for Best Folk Album. So obviously it was written before the pandemic. What about the album sounds different to you now?
I think, I imagine that because of the way in which people have been listening to music this year has been incredibly internal, more internal than previous years. In England, I was going out on my daily walk, and listening to albums. The Fiona Apple album came out the week before my album, and I was just going out and listening to that every day. And I hadn't had that relationship to music for quite a long time. It was incredibly meaningful to, just have a really close relationship with an album. So I think, it's a very internal. I don't want to say, I don't like the word confessional because it's not, I'm not confessing anything. But it's an internal world you're drawn into. And I think the type of people that are interested in my music also have very strong internal worlds, I guess. So.
Let's listen to another song from Song for Our Daughter. The track we're going to listen to is Held Down. What's the inspiration for Held Down?
Held Down, well, gosh, it was a long time ago that I wrote it, but it's a sort of trying to put into words that feeling of the push and pull of relationships, any kind of intimate relationship when you haven't quite figured out your own stuff yet, and you push and pull at it. And when there's two of you pushing and pulling at it, it's kind of like a farce or something. It's brilliant. This is Held Down from Laura Marling.
Sent me a book, but you gave up a look, but I just don't care for and I cannot get through. But you're writing again, and I'm glad, old friend, to make sure you write me out of where you get to. I was just gonna tell you that I don't want to let you down, get lost in the crowd, seen unseen. Say what you mean, 'cause we ought to be here now, and we ought to be held down.
That's Held Down from Laura Marling from her album Song for Our Daughter, nominated for Best Folk Album for the Grammy. There's another song I want to play for our listeners, Laura, and it's called Fortune. And the first lines are, "You took out that money that your mama had saved. She told me she kept it for running away. Oh my, fortunes can change." Who's our narrator and who took the money?
Very, very good. Investigative journalism. I mean, the narrator is ambiguous, I guess, but the story sort of comes from the fact that when I was younger, my mum used to keep a pot of 20p's, I guess, like quarters or something, above the washing machine, and she always called it her running away fund, and it just became one of those kind of terminologies that sunk into your vocabulary without you ever questioning it. And then as I was older, I realized that what she meant by that was that if she ever needed to run away, she could take a sort of box of 20p's and go and start a new life somewhere. And there's something like perfectly comic and tragic about that I thought was so beautiful. And, you know, that the fact that, you know, I used to go and steal 20p's out of her 20p box when she wasn't looking. And this money that has such a strong kind of energetic purpose could be so misused in such a sort of crass way. That was the thinking.
This is Fortune from Laura Marling.
You took out that money that your mama had saved. She told me she kept it for running away. Oh my, fortunes can change. You've picked up some tricks that you learned on your way. For fear you'd be lonely if you never changed. Oh my, you lost your faith. We landed on rocks and that's partly to blame.
That's Fortune from the album Song for Our Daughter from Laura Marling. So let's get to that title track. You said that the song was inspired in part by Maya Angelou's book, Letter to My Daughter. How so, and how often does poetry and literature inspire you?
Well, the Maya Angelou reference, I read that book. You know, I was obviously familiar with Maya Angelou, and this is a very different style of writing that she uses in this book. And in its letters to a non-existent daughter, life lessons that she picked up, and has written specifically. I think she has a son or had a son, and I just found that a very generous and beautiful idea. And I think, in a way, in reality, what that means is it's lessons to yourself. You're sort of keeping a record of things that you've learned, and you just repeat them to yourself over and over again. And I found that very beautiful. And literature and poetry are very important to, you know, because they express something that's sort of beyond what is signifiable. You know, the reason why poetry is, like brilliant poetry is so brilliant, is that it transcends something of the, you know, of the earthliness of the world that we live in, and reaches something celestial. So I'm not saying that my music can do that, but it's very much inspired by that.
I'm sure it can do it for some people. Don't be so so self-effacing. Song for Our Daughter is nominated for Best Folk Album at the Grammys. Laura Marling has been kind enough to give us a performance of the title track. Laura Marling, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. It was lovely.
Here's Song for Our Daughter.
They may want you to tread in their trail, only to see if the path they set fails. Though they may want you to take off your clothes, whatever they think that the action exposed, with your clothes on the floor, taking advice from some old boarding board. You will ask yourself, did I want this at all? You remember what I said. The book I left by your bed, the words that some survivor read. Lately I've been thinking about our daughter growing old, and all of the books that she might be told. There's blood on the floor. Maybe now you believe her for sure. She remembers what I said. The book I left by her bed, the words that some survivor read. So they may take you for all you had left. You won't be forgotten for what you had not done yet. You wished for a kiss from God, and you mourn in your childish loss. Innocence gone, but it's not forgotten. You catch your way through it somehow. They'll remember what you said. The book you left by your bed, the words that will outlive the dead.
Her voice is so beautiful. That was a special performance of the Song for Our Daughter from Grammy nominee Laura Marling. This is all of it.
WNYC Studios is supported by Car Care to Go. We all know the hassle of getting an oil change or car repair. You waste hours coordinating rides and shuttles or sitting in a stuffy waiting room. There's a better way with Car Care to Go. Contactless, valet service, and repair from highly trained and trustworthy mechanics. Car Care to Go saves you time and stress. Car Care to Go picks up your car, repairs it, and brings it back to you all with a click of a button. Schedule now at carcaretogo.com and use code WELCOME25 for $25 off any service. That's carcaretogo.com and use code WELCOME25 for $25 off any service.